Let's get it. Let's get. No, that's not the one. All right, here we go.
The biggest mistake I ever made as a parent, in my opinion, was letting my children go to public school. The second biggest mistake was letting them go to a school at all. The purpose of school is to manufacture employees for businesses. It's not to teach your children to be smart. There's a book that I would recommend highly. It's called Weapons of Mass Instruction by John Taylor Gatto. He was the 5-time Teacher of the Year in New York, in the state of New York, 5-time Teacher of the Year. And he became totally disillusioned when he realized that the purpose of being a school teacher was not to teach math. I think that maybe he taught English or math. He said, I became disillusioned the day I realized my job was not to teach math, but my job was to teach school. Think about it. In school, they teach you that nothing is important. How do they do that? It's the only place that you will ever work in your life where you work on something for 45 or 55 minutes and then a bell rings and you close your book. You don't care about that anymore until tomorrow. It doesn't make any sense. The reason they use bells in schools is because that's what they used on the assembly lines. Lunchtime, ring a bell. Okay, go to lunch. Ring a bell again. You come back from lunch. The whole thing was programmed for a stimulus response. We still tell our children, well, if you want to do well in life, you got to go to college, get a degree. The only reason we tell them that is because that's what we're expected to tell them. We haven't really thought about it. The biggest mistake I ever made as a parent in my
That video stands out. That video stands out for a bunch of reasons. And it's funny. If I can actually find, there was a clip that was sent to me by a lady named Feminista. If I can find that on here, I may read that letter earlier. I'll read that letter a little bit later. But when I hear this gentleman, I forget his name. I think his name's Myron. It's either Myron or Byron. Sorry. But this gentleman, he brings up a great point. Can you send me that video, Feminista? There we go. There we go. I got my assistant here today. The Feminista letter about baby boomers. Thank you. And shout out to Big Bro Doug in the building. But when I hear that, I always sit back and as I identified one of my enemies, I realized that the education system, higher education system specifically, is one of my enemies. And then the more I researched that, I came across actually an article that I may share with y'all, may not, but it was on John D. Rockefeller. And John D. Rockefeller, that's one of the pioneers of the education system. Now, a lot of times we sit back and we question, why things are the way that they are. Why do we think the way that we think? Why do we waste? I don't know if y'all think it's a waste, but what do we actually learn from pre-K to 12th grade that is actually going to be applied for the real world? I know back in the day, I know it's a little different now, but we never learned how to balance a checkbook. Yeah, growing up, you still had to balance a checkbook. I saw my mom doing that when, she would go grocery shopping afterwards, balance her checkbook. Saw my dad doing it. Why didn't we learn about taxes? Why didn't we learn about taxes? Why didn't we learn the benefits that come from when you're a 1099 compared to a W-2, that you can write off certain things? Why didn't we learn any of these things? Why didn't we learn how to budget? Why didn't we learn how to have conversations with the opposite sex? Why didn't we learn about how to communicate in relationships? Why did we not learn how to go through anything in life, that actually can be applied? And the reason is because their goal was never to create free thinkers. Their goal was never to provide us knowledge. Their goal was to simply indoctrinate us to become workers. Rockefeller said, let me actually bring it up. Let me bring it up for y'all. Hold on. Rockefeller. I need y'all to see this. Rockefeller education system. Hopefully it comes up the one. Okay. So I want to show y'all this. Hold on. Is that not the one? Hold on. That may not be it. Here we go. I found it. All right. So when I share this with y'all, why did we not learn about this? And why are things not changing? Why are things not changing? And in my opinion, the only reason I wasn't even going to discuss this, but it sets the foundation for how we see the rest of the world. Think about it. From the time that we are 4 or 5 years old, we are being indoctrinated with this educational experience where we're learning all these things that we're never going to apply, but we're just learning it. And from the parent's perspective, I know it serves as an easy way to for babysitting, while your parents are at work. But what are we actually learning that we're applying? If I'm a parent and I'm working a job and I'm just sending my kid to school, what am I actually doing on my job that they're going to be learning as they're going to school? I'll give you an example. Bring your homework home. For all the young kids, if you have a niece, nephew, goddaughter, godson, let them bring their first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, whatever it is, homework home, and you take a look at it. Let's see if you can do the math. Let's see if you can do the science. Let's see if you could do all these things. Let's see if the history that they're learning in school aligns with the history that you've come to understand. Let's say if you're a reader and if you do your research outside of just the things that you've learned. You probably can't do the work. You probably don't align with the history. You probably don't understand why we're learning all this science and whatnot. It's not applicable to anything that we're going to be doing in the real world later on. And then when we get to the age of 18, what do we make the decision to do? To go to college, to get in debt. So then when we get in debt and we come out 4 years later with $100,000 debt or whatever it may be, they just created a slave. They just created a slave. And when I say slave, people are, they're not on the plantation. Maybe the corporate plantation. But what do I mean by slave? You are now a slave to paying back those loans. Those same loans that they would never give you as, let's say, hey, I just need $5,000 for a business loan. But they won't give you that, but they'll give you $80,000 a year or $50,000 a year to go to college. Because it's bigger than anything. The bank lending out the money. There's like there's who owns or who controls a lot of the banking. When you hear that Rockefeller name, all these people that are in power, they're all leveraging their power to show us smoke screens. So therefore they can disguise their true intent. And that's what they do. We actually think that, when we're going to school and we're getting an A on our 5th grade math test, that we're actually doing something that's going to lead to us being successful. Now, let me also say that I do think that competing, that competitive aspect is important. So if we are in school, I do believe that it is important to compete. It is important to try to be your best, to try to be the best, and you're going to learn a lot of valuable lessons, no different than if you're competing in sports. So I do think that aspect is important. I do think the social aspect is important. But a question should be asked, are the things that we're actually learning important? Are they going to make a difference in whether or not we're successful? I don't know. But let's take a look at this article. As you can see, it says The Dark Truth of the Educational System, shaped by John D. Rockefeller. Let me ask y'all a question. Hold on. Let me ask y'all a question because I've just been talking and rambling. If you were in power, let's say that you had more money than everybody. You were in that top 1% of the 1%. And you had a bunch of buddies that were in that top 1% of that 1%. What would your goal be? Now you're mixing and mingling with all the politicians. You're the one that's raising the money for these super PACs that are ultimately going to, what do we call it? Lobbying, that are ultimately going to be legal bribes to get these politicians to move whatever way that the powerful people want them to move. What do you think? How can I ask this better? What do you think you would do to preserve your power? Do you really want to empower the people at the bottom? Do you really want to empower the people in the middle? Because if you empower the people at the bottom and if you empower the people in the middle, what are you really doing? Now you're creating a generation of competitors that are going to compete against your kids, right? And are going to compete against your grandkids. So that's a threat to your family because what do we operate? We operate in survival mode, right? We don't operate in the golden rule of treating others how we want to be treated. We don't operate with a mindset that I want everybody to be amazing. I want everybody to do well. We walk around. It doesn't matter whether you live in the projects, in an impoverished neighborhood, or if you live in one of the Coral Gables, I think, or Beverly Hills, and you have a lot of money. Everybody's comparing themselves with the people that they're around. Everybody just compares themselves with the people that they're around. No? Yes? So the goal, if you have a lot of money, is to what? Let me figure out a way to keep as little competition as possible. This is not sports. All right? Even though we're taught sports, you're supposed to compete and all that. Yeah. Tell that to the person that's winning every year. They want to keep as much of a gap between them and the next best team as possible. And that's exactly what Rockefeller did. So let's take a look at this article. And hold on, let me catch up with the comments. IROC said, I've always wondered that, and why is mental health not a focus? I'm glad that you said that, because I was thinking that in my mind, but I just didn't mention it. Why is mental health not a focus? Why is, how about this, IROC? Why is overall health not a focus? They teach us this upside down pyramid where, think about it, think about the food pyramid. Maybe I'll bring it up. You know, we learned that there's bread on the bottom of it, which just breaks down as sugar. And I'm telling you, I just heard the other day, get this, I got to confirm it, but the cigarette companies, obviously they rely on having an addictive product, right? Everybody who sells something, they want their product to be as addictive as possible. Cigarettes, we already know the nicotine, it's addicting. The cigarette company, I believe, is responsible or owns the companies that produce all of this processed food. So all this processed food that they're just trying to make as addicting as possible, that we eat one chip, we eat all this fake food, and we just can't get enough. There's a reason why we can't get enough. One, because it's addicting. Two, because it's not giving us the nutrients that our body is craving. So we don't focus on mental health. We don't focus on physical health. The gym classes are a joke. You know, you look at some of these other gym classes in these other countries, and then you look at the gym classes that we used to have, and it's totally different, totally different. And that's why we have weaker, we're just weaker strength-wise. So let me, so Mama Lay wrote, I agree with everything you're saying, 500%. We have been living in updated slavery for eons. However, things are shifting because we are at a time of awakening. I 100% agree. I 100% agree. And that's why we're going to talk about this. Awakening has people scared to death. The people in power are scared to death right now. There's an awakening, and it's happening across the board. It's not just with the Democrats. It's not just with the Republicans, not just with religion. It's across the board. People are starting to wake up and say, hey, this doesn't make sense, and starting to hopefully act on it. At least there's definitely a few people acting on it. Overall, I would say that most people are still with the sheepish mentality, but we're definitely moving in the right direction. I would say the chosen few, the people that decide to actually do the research, that the people that are just able to step outside of this MSNBC, Fox News, CNN bubble of a reality that we live in. The people that are able to step away from that are starting to see in plain sight. It's like, as soon as you take those goggles out or step out of that bubble or burst out of that bubble, things become very clear. Nobody has our best interests at heart. Nobody has our best interests at heart. This person is just trying to leverage their power in this way to get more power. This is just the survival mode that we've created. We are not moving in a human nature. We're moving in animalistic nature. We are moving like animals that we eat one meal, and then the next thing, all we're thinking about is how can I kill to make sure that I can eat the next meal. We are supposed to be advanced beings created in the image of God, but we move like the beast that they describe in the religious scriptures. Combine the text with the scriptures. That's how we're moving. That's how we're moving. And let me get to the article. My fault. Y'all know I go on these little all right. So instead of me going off on another tangent, let me get to the article. So the dark truth of the educational system shaped by John D. Rockefeller. Look at this first quote. I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. Why would we ever follow a board of education and an education system that is created and based on the foundational principles I'm talking about are based on a man who says that he does not want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. The American educational system, a cornerstone of societal development, has undergone numerous transformations over the years. Debatable. One influential figure in shaping the landscape of education was John D. Rockefeller, a name often associated with wealth and industrial prowess. However, as I delve into the annals of history, hopefully I pronounced that right, a disconcerting truth emerges, one that raises questions about the true motives behind Rockefeller's educational endeavors. All right, the early 20th century educational revolution. So I want y'all to look at this paragraph right here. Rockefeller's influence on education was not solely altruistic, if at all. The GEB played a pivotal role in imposing a standardized model of education across the nation. This standardization, while seemingly efficient, carried with it a hidden agenda to mold a workforce that would serve the interests of industrialists like Rockefeller himself. Selfish. This is the dark truth of our education system. So when we're just happy that our kids are in supposedly a great education system, and then you think, what's a good education system or district? You know, we say, oh, growing up in Montclair, people used to say, oh, it's a great education, you know, great district for, you know, the education is so great in Montclair. Yeah. What does that mean? That the indoctrination is greater? I know that, okay, I'm going to come away learning how to read, knowing how to read. I know that that's a lot for a lot of these inner cities. You go to Chicago, you go to Baltimore, you go to some of these cities in Louisiana that we always discuss, where they don't have one child that can read at their proper grading level. So I understand that the bar is pretty low. But what exactly are we learning? Are we learning just how to be an amazing worker, a well-paid or paid slave, however you want to call it? Or are we actually gaining knowledge that is going to allow us to set free and to act on our childish imaginations and dreams that we all thought about? You know, we all had them when we were a little kid watching Disney movies, when we thought that we could do any and everything. But then what does life do? It beats us up. It molds us. It convinces us that we can't have that that's not reality. And then when you go to college and everybody's just looking for the next job, and then you go into debt, that reality becomes even more of a necessity to just make money rather than to follow purpose. So it's just something to think about. Let me make sure that I'm catching up with all the chats. IROC said it's true. They use cigarettes addiction science to make our food. How insane is that? How insane is that? So then when we're going to talk about later with the Food and Drug Administration, how do we allow, first off, how is there even an administration called the Food and Drug Administration? How does this make sense? What is that called? A conflict of interest. That's called a conflict of interest. But we are so naive in our thinking that we've allowed it to go on for so long without checking it. Thank God we got a guy like RFK now who has a platform speaking on this stuff. But how do you have the Food Administration that is clearly providing poison to us? We have so many ingredients that we just give to our family members, give to our kids, and they're outlawed in Europe. An example of that is Ozempic. Think about it. And I haven't even done my research. We're going to talk about Ozempic on Friday, maybe. But think about it. Ozempic. How does America embrace Ozempic as a proper weight loss strategy, pill, prescription, medicine, whatever, where it was actually created? They say that it shouldn't even be used for that. But nobody cares. As long as the big pharma can make money off of it, then that's what they're going to do. And you know what? To sell Ozempic, what do you need? You need fat people. You need insecure people. And I hate to say it direct like that, but I don't mean it as any disrespect. I'm just being totally honest. You need people that are obese, overweight. I have to be direct when I'm speaking. I have to. But they need that in order to then sell their product of weight loss. It's very simple. What does Big Pharma and the Drug Administration need? Or the drug industry need? They need sick people that need to rely on not the natural remedies that are given to us in the earth with the herbs, the minerals, and the vitamins. No, they're going to rely on the man-made science that was made mimicking nature, but they can make a lot more money on the actual big farm, the medicines that they're providing, rather than just recommending, hey, just go get some vitamin D. Hey, go get some sea moss. Hey, go, incorporate some of these different mushrooms into your diet if you want some focus. All these different things, we're just completely being misled. That's not a part of their agenda. It's not. And I know you know all about it. We got to get you on here. We're going to get you on here, matter of fact. I got an idea for now everybody that All right, so this is I'm gonna let y'all know, and I'm about to put this out there. Everybody that I know so many people that have so much insight on a lot of these areas that could provide a lot of valuable um, insight to a lot of other people, different information that could save people's lives. My goal is to use this platform to bring those people on, provide a space to where they can share their information, because trust me, there's an army on the other side. So we need to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to fight for our best interests. You know what I'm saying? So let's look at what IROC wrote. IROC wrote, the school system has been like this for a long time. A long time. That's why I said when they wrote in the article that it's had different transformations. I mean, has it? I don't know. They gear learning towards whatever the workforce is going to be for the next decade, but they take away that allows true growth. They take away everything that allows true growth. I totally understand. And that's where the transformation is. It's just based on, okay, all right, we're doing industry jobs. All right, tailor it for that. Oh, we're doing these type of jobs. Okay, tailor it for that. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. But then let me not ask y'all, because I know that we got a special group here, but think about it like this. Do you think the majority of people that you know, that you've gone to school with, not saying that they're your friends or your family, just the majority of people, if they were in power, do you think that they would choose to do the right thing or do whatever puts money in their pockets? What do we think that people would do? I don't know. Y'all tell me. So let's, what did we say that we're going to get into next? We're going to move on to the next topic. Do I want to go Andrew Tate or do I want to go Cornel West? I feel like dangling this Andrew Tate for a while. So let me find this video that I wanted to show y'all.